Extreme Collectibles here with Moss, also known as Man of Steel. And it's an interesting one, I'll tell you that. Not only obviously because he is not your traditional red and blue, but a lot of weird and a lot of cool stuff going on here. So stay tuned to find out what that is. Extreme Collectibles here with custom quarter scale Man of Steel, aka Superman. And as you can see, it's black Superman. Not that black Superman, but it is Superman in a black outfit. And there's a lot of confusion out there of Superman's black outfit, what it means, why he has it. And there's a few different variations, but essentially in a very 30,000 foot perspective nutshell, it's after he died, he got this from his Fortress of Solitude as he lost a lot of his powers, and this helped regenerate his powers. And someone who knows a lot more about DC and Superman can kind of expand on that. So this is after he died, and you know, well, was he really dead? But let's not get philosophical on Extreme Collectibles. Purchased him to add to my Superman collection. Who doesn't love Superman? Because I think we all agree if you could choose one person's powers, you would choose Superman, especially since kryptonite is so rare nowadays. I haven't seen any in months. But here, let me show a picture of my current Superman collection. So here it is with this piece, which I haven't seen this yet, so I'll move it over there in a little bit. The lighting's probably bad because I know it's horrible in this room. To kind of give you an idea. So custom manufacturer. Edition size was 60. They made 60 of these. Price, I want to say right around 800 or so. And with customs, traditionally there's not an exclusive, meaning a special edition that has a number, more switch outs or anything like that. This guy does have 3 switch outs actually. So let's look at them. So first is my favorite one that you see right here. Kind of shorter hair and the beard. And then there's one where his hair is a little bit fuller, more full, and a beard. And then you have one with the hair very similar to the original, and he's clean shaven. And we'll look at each portrait in depth when we get to the paint and sculpt. We traditionally do that at the end of the review. But really excited to get him. This is my 3rd piece from this custom manufacturer. They also made the Fastball Special and the Cyclock I reviewed and posted earlier this week. So they kind of dabble in a little bit of everything. They got some X-Men going on. They have some, I'm trying to think what else. Maybe it's just X-Men. They have a whole bunch going on. Let's just leave it at that, besides DC here. And with this guy, let's do the measurements really quick. One nice thing is he doesn't take up a lot of real estate. So little over 19.5 inches tall. Probably the deepest part is 12 inches. And the width is about 15 or 16, but as you see, it's coming up a little bit here. So you might be able to display that in a certain way. The base was one piece. Superman's torso minus his arms and head were another piece. Came in standard black foam. Here's a picture of the layers. And then also they do a little bit of an art box with this commissioner. So here's a picture of the art box for people that get their jollies off that. So really excited to have him. And I believe they used a new factory for this one. I could be wrong. And when we talk about the concept and design here, design-wise, there's definitely some concerns that we're going to talk about. And, a lot of them, just to jump in, I'm really looking at it with a microscope. One thing I said to another buddy who got it, who we were discussing it, is from about 8 inches or farther away, it's a fantastic piece, but really diving in deep like we are, there are going to be some noticeable issues. So first let's talk about the concept though, because I think the concept is killer. I wanted a black Superman, and I think this just absolutely accomplishes it. I think that it's, you know, he's sitting here, and they have, you know, a unique base, and then on top of that is kind of like a fallen statue or pillar or building. I'm still not exactly sure what it is. And he's in a very powerful pose, and he just looks badass no matter what portrait you have on him, and he's really showing off his muscles, and he's back, and he's really, really cool. And I really like I said, the concept. It's a striking statue when you walk by it. It just really is. It really gets your attention. And this is one of those, I don't know how it's going to look on video, but most statues look better in real life than pictures, and every once in a while I say this one is times 10. This one is times 10. Regarding the design, kind of some unique stuff going on here, both good and bad. So first I want to show you is all of the portraits have light up eyes, and it's really cool light up eyes. See right here? And something really neat about these light up eyes is they look good when they're not lit up, where a lot of pieces that are out there, they're just clear lenses or whatever it is. So I really give them props for that. It looks good both with the lights on and with the lights off. And the way you actually turn on the light up eyes is pretty easy. As you see right there, you take the head off, or the hair off. And speaking of that, I did have a damaged piece of hair. His little curly Q is what I call it. As you see right here, it was broken off. And unfortunately, one thing I found out about this factory is it says they charge you shipping for the replacement parts. So I will just live without it. And realistically, this hair actually doesn't belong on this portrait. It was this portrait that had the broken hair. So the hair on the unshaved portrait fits really, really well. It's a tiny, tiny bit off in the back, but it is what it is. So a couple other unique things. His foot is actually on the ground. It's not on the base. You see that right there? Kind of unique, different. You typically don't see that. Then some of the other design issues that I'm kind of curious about is right here on the Superman emblem, on the left side of it, there was either one of two things. Either A, it was a production issue, which I am leaning towards, or B, they decided we're going to make his suit perfect except for right there, which to me, that just doesn't make sense. So I think there was a production issue with that. That's unfortunate. Another big design issue that I'm having problems with is the seam lines in the arms. Here's a couple pictures. It's really bad. And a lot of pieces have that, and especially when it's one suit, it's hard to make that. But why do the arms unattach? Why wasn't it all one piece? That's my question, because there are no switch outs for the arms. So that's kind of unfortunate. And then the last design issue really that I have problems with, right here on his back, there's like a shelf. Like his back, and I'll show a close-up in a second, but there's like a part like this big where there's just nothing there. So I don't know if that was in the molding or the casting or whatever that was, but, you know, and granted, I'm not looking at the back. So a few different design issues going on. Well, you know, it is what it is. I really do like this piece. I want to emphasize that. Like I said, from, you know, 8 inches away, which rarely am I this close to statues, except when doing a review and taking close-up pictures. So I really do like this piece. But with the paint and the sculpt, there are also some other things that kind of disappointed me. I'll leave it at that. But, well, I won't leave it at that. We're actually going to talk about them. Let's talk about them right now with the paint and sculpt. So first of all, the outside of the base here, I like the fact it's black. It's a shiny black where you don't really see too much of that on Superman other than his boots. And it has a Superman emblem on the front. And now that I'm looking at that, the emblem is the same as his symbol. So maybe that's comic accurate. Shows what I know. And I don't edit my reviews, so I'm going to leave that on there. So this symbol is the exact same as it is up here. So obviously it wasn't a production issue. It was very deliberate, which is kind of interesting. I'll have to go look at Google some comic covers to see if that's right. But I'm guessing it is now. So I retract my previous statement. However, let's look at the base here again. So first of all, the part where it comes up and kind of the concrete rock starts, it looks like they did a bad job spray painting the base. It kind of flushed over. You see these pictures right here? not the best deal on the paint. However, looking at different parts of the base, both the concrete and the pillar or statue, it's very good sculpt. Some of the concrete could have been a little bit better, but I like it. I like the fact that the building is very similar to the concrete, but it's almost a different brownish color. I think they could have differentiated it a little bit more, and there's some cracks and some cool intricate designs in there. And same thing with the pillar and the statue. Really cool intricate designs on there. I do like the coloring. It doesn't look as old as I would think it would, but it matches the building and the concrete, so the age of that. So it was very deliberate, and I do like the base. I've seen better, but it's not what's going to get your attention on this statue anyway, and I would much prefer this kind of base than a flat base. I really hate bases that have nothing going on. For example, PCS's, a lot of their video game statues or their old ones, I just hate that. I think it's dumb. I know some people are big fans of it. And also, they were able to do a lot with the base here, yet keep it very compact, which is always a plus. And then before we get to Superman, I want to point out two things. One, we're going to see a lot of, not a lot, but we're going to see some paint issues. I'm not going to point every single one out, but I'm speculating those came because A, this is black and it's hard to get the same black uniform everywhere. And two, there's so much texture on this guy. He's over textured, and most of the time I don't like that. I actually do like it on this piece. It's one of the reasons that made me seek it out. But yeah, there's a lot of paint flaws. And then also, with the design, especially around the belt in the back and some of the others, we're going to see there's some texture flaws too, unfortunately. But again, that goes back to the premise that this is a good statue to look at from 8 to plus inches away. So let's start at his boots. Very shiny boots. I like the different pattern on there. It's exactly what I would think of. It's different than the traditional Superman boots that don't really have any layering or straps or anything like that. And there's still a few folds in here, and you can still see even his ankle bones. So I think they did a good job on that. There is absolutely no traction on the bottom, but I wouldn't think there would be with Superman, so that makes sense. And then moving up his legs, so first of all, you'll see this texture in here, and it's all over, so we'll just talk about it now. It's different shapes. I don't know if it was supposed to be the same, but it's the same shapes, I guess, but different sizes throughout the entire suit. And there's also kind of a few different blemishes or imperfections, and part of that is because of the way the suit is supposed to be stretching around his body, so that's totally normal. But good musculature on Superman. It's overemphasized, as it should be, because Superman is a really, really buff guy. And then he kind of has these knee pads, which I don't know why Superman would need knee pads, but I'm sure it's just comic accurate. I need to take a closer look. And what you're going to see is he has these same things on his elbows as well, but it's a little bit different. It's a very dark gray with a little bit of black in there, and I think it adds to the costume. And then it's not stitching, but kind of this black line that is all throughout his costume. It's wrapped around his legs, and you'll see later it goes around his ass and all the way up to his collar, And it looks really good. Very clean paint job on that. Where there's some significant texturing issues and paint issues is a lot around his thighs and his torso, but again, the anatomy looks fantastic. And then here you see his silver belt. It's a little tarnished, but I think that's intentional, which is nice. And one thing my 7-year-old son said is, my God, he has a big penis, which is absolutely true. One of the biggest packages ever. It's super. No wonder they call him Superman, someone said to me. Then where there's some really big mess ups with the texture is on his ass. So here's some close-ups here. There's some lines that go through, and even by his belt it looks torn up. Some huge issues here. I can't believe that this would have been intentional. So this is really unfortunate. And then you see kind of the shelf space I was talking about. But then moving back to his front, his abs are strange. I mean, they're really, really sucked in, where his, you can see the top 2 of his 8-pack, but you can't see the bottom 2. Maybe that's because somebody punched him and it went down to his nuts. That's why his nuts are so big. So kind of interesting, but you know, human anatomy, this may be correct based on the pose he has. And then his upper torso completely buffed out, looks really good. You'll see some of the paint flaws here. And then other than the design issue that I thought was an issue, which apparently I was wrong, the symbol looks fantastic. I like the color they used. It's a different silver than anything else on the body, and it really pops, makes it look fantastic. And then talking about the anatomy on his arms, just fantastic anatomy. Like I said, really roided out, really buff. And his arms actually look really good. You don't see as many paint issues or texture issues. And one of the things you'll notice here in kind of the folds of his muscles and his skin, they used a darker black. And it's very intentional, and I'm guessing it's similar to the prototype that Matt did. Then he has his arm gauntlets, look good. I like the material type they used for this. It gives the statue some variation. And then his hands. So first of all, the skin tone color is way too dark. In my opinion, it's too dark. But what's interesting is I remember Sideshow's new premium format had very dark skin. And where the fingers come together, the sculpt or the cut or the cast, the print is just not good. It looks like a blob of a hand in some places. You see here. I don't know what happened there. I can't imagine that's a sculpt, because this was the sculptor of this is fantastic, so it must have been the execution on the factory. That's unfortunate. Then moving to his upper back, you see right here, part of this, it looks like the suit must be padded because it's almost another layer on top of the bottom layer. And I don't know if that was intentional or if that's what it's like on the actual comics. Kind of interesting. And then we're going to move on to his portraits next. But one thing, the portraits are loose, which is another unfortunate thing. So they're pretty loose. They're strong magnets, so it's just the key doesn't fit that well. So they cut too big of a hole essentially. But let's start on the portraits here. So first of all, let's look at the shorter hair, which is the same for two versions. Good flow in the hair, typical Superman hair. See the different strands. I like how it's kind of combed back, looks very slick. And that same color matches his beard. I saw some pictures online where the paint job on his beard was a little questionable. Here it looks much better. I like the expression on his face. Again, the skin's a little too dark in my opinion, but it kind of fits the statue. Maybe if it was lighter, it would have looked too much with the black contrasting, so maybe that's a smart way to go. Eyebrows sculpted in. He has kind of that menacing look on his face. He's about to pound someone into the ground. Lips pursed together. Good sculpt on the face. I like it. And then his other bearded portrait you see here, it took me a minute to kind of figure out what was different between the two because they're actually very similar other than the hair. And basically his expression is a tiny bit different and his mouth is a tiny bit different. So I don't know if it would have saved money. And it seems like there's a little bit more color in this one too. It would have saved money just to have swap out hair. And then his clean-shaven portrait, very classic Superman with the big chin, very comic accurate. It could be the same exact sculpt as the bearded one, but looks incredibly different without the beard. I will never display this one because I like the fact that the beard is different. So those are my thoughts, those are my opinions on this piece. Like I said, standing back here, it's pretty badass. I like it a lot. If you're one of those people that you go in and you bash statues because of tiny little things, even though there are quite a few on here, then you won't be happy with this guy. I am happy with him. So definitely some opportunity in the future, which like I said, I think this was the first piece from that factory. So I know the pieces this commissioner puts out are quality pieces. So everyone's gonna have a one-off once in a while, but thankfully it's an awesome statue to start with, despite some of the flaws going on. So let me know what your favorite Superman statue is, in hand or ordered. And I have, I think, 2 or 3 more coming to add to my collection. So I like this guy though, definitely. So thanks so much for watching. If you are not a subscriber, about 55% of the people that watch are not subscribers. Go ahead and hit that subscribe and bell, because I need it. I need more subscribers. Actually, I don't. So, but if you do, I really appreciate it. So thanks so much for watching. Take care.